Let us discuss whether or not the boy who fell victim to the king can now perceive his holy blade. What's up, guys? I'm Hunter here, and we are to do a nice little discussion on whether or not ITADORI YUUJI has developed any sort of ability to perceive, resist, redirect, something of this sort. Has he developed some sort of interaction, or specifically the slashing ability known as Shrine from the King of Curses, Sukuna? Whether or not ITADORI YUUJI has evolved some type of ability, strat, power, resistance, durability of any sort in regards to Sukuna's main ability, Shrine. We have a little bit, and by a little bit I mean a lot of it, to talk about. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready. 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And then another fun fact, YUUJI ITADORI, in fact, had it on him and kept it on him, but not at all times though, because that boy Higuruma got and that thing went gone. But Sukuna, he used to also have it on him and keep it on him at all times. But, yeah, also, you know, Higuruma kind of robbed him. But luckily enough for Sukuna, he doesn't actually need to rely on a little Kamutoke, a little Executioner's Blade for YUUJI ITADORI. None of that. All he needs to rely on is them things that are built right on in. Them slashes. Now, here's the thing. The question has recently arisen. It's been danced about since earlier than this, but specifically on this panel in 248, the question has not just been reignited, but like someone poured gasoline all over it. Whether or not YUUJI ITADORI has A, developed the ability to perceive Sukuna's slashes, B, developed a resistance to Sukuna's slashes overall, C, adapted any sort of resistance to Sukuna's slashes, or D, all of the above. Let's talk about it. The first thing, before we actually get fully into the perception argument and what this is reminding people of and what it even reminded me of upon it being pointed out to me, I do want to talk about the idea that YUUJI ITADORI has adapted entirely to Shrine. Like, he's resistant to every single thing Shrine... No. Yet, no. If Broski gets hit... by one of these bad boys, if Sukuna feels a little bit suspicious, a little bit creepy, and goes dragon scales, repulsion, paired falling stars, and launches out a spatial slash, this man's ended up just like you, just like Gojo, just like Hashima's poor hand. That man is getting torn to ribbons. I don't think he's resisting spatial slash, mainly because I've mentioned this before in other videos and I'll mention it again. Spatial slash does not care who you are. In the sense that the only way one could hypothetically resist or survive spatial slash is if, one, they have a really good regeneration factor and being bisected doesn't actually mean anything to them, i.e. like your Wolverines, your Bonds from Seven Deadly Sins, your any character with a high regeneration factor, your Deadpools, whatever. So they wouldn't mind a spatial slash. But the only way to explicitly resist it, because most likely those characters would still get cut, I'm not sure if any of those characters have specifically spatial manipulation resistance. Knowing comics, Deadpool and Wolverine probably do. But if you want to just resist spatial slash itself, considering it attacks space directly, you literally need to not exist in space or be like a higher dimensional being. You have to do one of those two things. And neither of which are possible for YUUJI ITADORI, who clearly isn't even scaling to Sukuna at all. These two are not relative. You can tell by all their interactions. So no, I don't believe YUUJI is immune to spatial slash, number one. But of course, people aren't necessarily arguing for spatial slash. But I've seen people argue overall, Sukuna seems to have kind of lost his potency when it comes to dealing with YUUJI ITADORI. And thus the YUUJI ITADORI resists and can perceive all of it. I get into the perception, the resistance, but one thing I think ITADORI YUUJI also does not seem to have developed an insane resistance to, though maybe a perception of, maybe, but probably not just based on how it works. I don't think bro developed a resistance to cleave. Cleave in particular. Now note, we're going off Kusagabe's game theory that cleave is when Sukuna gets that grip on you. And going with that, YUUJI ITADORI very clearly gets torn apart. Though, this does bring into the question the resistance. Because remember, we've seen cleave do numbers. Like insane numbers. But at the same time, Maybe not, because we've also seen Cleave do not insane numbers. But the fact that YUUJI ITADORI gets cupped up right here on the side, he gets his belly grabbed up like a little marmot, and he just gets cut up a bit, and a chunk of his torso falls out. It's horrid, right? It's terrible, it's crazy, it's disgusting, it's diabolical, but he's not, like, cut in half, which could entirely be possible. Now, there are multiple ways that, like, you could chalk this up. Like, maybe Sukuna's just messing with Itadori and trying to, you know, keep poking the bear as he mocks him immediately. He's like, get it through your head already. You're boring. You don't thrill me at all. So maybe something like that, where Sukuna's like, you aren't even worth executing, by the way. I'm going to drag out your poor, miserable life for as long as humanly possible, because you're trash. So maybe something like that. Or, the reason Itadori YUUJI isn't literally bisected here, despite Sukuna seemingly smacking his side with a full cleave, is because he's developed a resistance to it. Only reason I'm hesitant about this is actually because of 248, because we see that YUUJI ITADORI does need to heal fully and properly from his stomach getting torn open. Which at least implies to me that when it comes to cleave, if he does have any sort of resistance, because I'll talk about it, I think he has developed something, it probably is light specifically on cleave and non-existent on spatial slash. Those two variations of shrine, I don't think YUUJI's developed much of, if any of a resistance to, just based on the fact that he does get so cleanly torn apart here on one simple low contact, seemingly low effort cleave, and does need to genuinely heal from it properly and can't just walk it off, in comparison to, well, something he does to other things that Sukuna launches out. But, with that being the case, alright, Pencil. Fine. He doesn't resist spatial slash. But no one resists spatial slash. No one in JJK's 4D. Fine, Pencil. He doesn't resist cleave. We see his belly get torn open. Fine, fine, fine. But you know what we're here for. What about them deadly dismantles? So, the thing about that is, yeah, I think bro got a resistance. If not like a flat-out immunity, and he also developed perception of them. Now, like straight up verbatim, I think he just has it. Mainly because of this interaction in 248. Now, of course, you may be wondering, what about this interaction in particular proves that YUUJI ITADORI can see them? To quote Ray Chase, "You can see it, Maharaga! You can see my cursed technique!" Like on some beat like that. Like when this gets animated 5 years from now, they're gonna extend this one little interaction to like 3 whole minutes, and we're gonna have Ryomen Sukuna roar down the top of his lungs. And by Ryomen Sukuna, I mean very specifically Ray Chase. I do not know Sukuna's Japanese actor. They did not go that hard on the Maharaga scene. They went hard, but not that hard. They were like brick. Ray Chase, straight steel. But with that being the case, the reason I think this is so particular is because of the comparison. Note where these dismantles are headed. Like, for reference, luckily enough, I got a blade of my own, because I have it on me, I keep it on me at all times. Like it's like right here. Like straight up, it is right here. And then the other one, like, this is right here, it's more like right here. Like, you can literally see his eye's about to get cut. And the other one that's arcing here is straight over his eye. So, reasonably, for all intents and purposes, YUUJI ITADORI, if he could not perceive them, he wouldn't be having a head anymore, for one. And two, look at his eyes. They are very specifically, them peepers are wide open. He is staring, like he's looking hard at it. And then, immediately, he raises up his arms to guard his face. Why would he know to do that, though? Of course, you know, Sukuna could aim for the head. Sukuna very is clearly an always optimal character who never holds back or messes around or anything like that. He'd always go for that. Oh, but wait, no. We've seen Ryomen Sukuna is more than willing to play around and mess. If Itadori didn't have direct sightlines on where those dismantles were going, he could have taken some lethal damage, just like Higuruma Hiromi took some lethal damage. But of course, this may not be enough, right? Sure, he does this, but it's just an instinctual move, right? He literally got kicked away. He was kind of curled up in a ball formation anyway. His hands are up by his head already. You can see, due to his previous guard, his hands are like here already. So at most from the roll, the shift would go from Let's see. Let me see if I can mimic it perfectly. It would, in fact, it actually kind of looks like he's guarding in the exact same way that he was before when he was, like, just kicked away. So maybe you can make an argument like, you know, maybe this ain't anything too crazy. The only reason I'm saying it's still something a bit crazy is for the fact of this. Y'all remember this? The exact same portrayal. What does Sukuna do way back when in Yuji Itadori's body after fighting Mahoraga? He throws out Mahoraga. This very same kind of imagery. You see the dismantle highlighted by the white dots. What do you see here in this image? The dismantle highlighted by the white dots. What do both Mahoraga and Yuji do instead of just getting slashed? Mahoraga swings up, knocks the slash away, tears into the wall behind it. And Sukuna geeks. He's like, it deflected the attack. You can see it. You can see it. I'm sorry, I cannot ray chase right now. I will find a time to ray chase, because I'd love to ray chase. I don't know, I can tell that man was having fun in the booth. I know bro was not directed to do that. He was on Cloud 9, recording for Sukuna that one time for some reason. Maybe because he knew he wasn't going to be allowed to cook for a while, and he didn't get to cook too much in Season 1 in terms of craziness, so he just went through the roof. But he drops the, you can see it, you can see my curse technique, and we see Mahoraga very specifically reflect it. Notably, it's weird. Like, did he reflect multiple of them? Because, like, there's just this one slash here, but then, like, there are, like, cross slashes. I have no idea. But with that being the case, Yuji Itadori has very, very similar portrayal here in terms of his seeming enough perception into blocking it. And that's interesting. The only reason I'm hesitant on saying he gained perception to it is because Sukuna doesn't acknowledge it. And notably, he very specifically does acknowledge Itadori's development. As he mentions, oh, and the boy's stomach's fully healed. And the boy himself has acquired reverse curse technique itself over the course of the month. He does very specifically note everything that Yuji has seemed to develop. And Sukuna isn't stupid, right? Like, all it took was this one interaction and this one redirection for him to realize Mahoraga, his abilities, and everything like that. So Sukuna would notice if Yuji suddenly gained the perception, right? Most likely. Which is why I'm a bit soft on, like, just hard saying that Yuji has developed perception, because Sukuna would have noticed, right? Okay, that's fine. We'll circle back around to that. But here's one thing that I think is pretty much impossible to deny based on what we've seen so far. Yuji Itadori, at least in the case of these casual, non-amped, non-spatial slash dismantles, he's developed some sort of immunity, if not very, 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 very high resistance. And you may be wondering, whoa, Pencil Man, where are you getting that from? Look at his arms. Gege is very particular with RCT in this chapter. Within this chapter especially. There's some times where he's a little bit loose with it, but very specifically in this chapter, we always see things steaming. Every single time we see something that's RCTing, steaming. Meaning something did damage and required RCT, Gege will go out of their way to draw it. Explicitly. But note this. Right now, he ain't RCTing, but Sukuna's RCTing, so you see the smoke there. You see Sukuna RCTing, you see the smoke's there. You see the hand is damaged, but not much smoke. But maybe that's smoke right there. Maybe that's even steam in of itself, so that may be a little bit of smoke right there. We see Yuji Itadori. Very specifically, he blocks. And let's look at where these hit. These slashes seem to hit right on his guard. He blocks his face, and these slashes seem to pop off, presumably like, well, I think that's his left. It's like, presumably like somewhere around here. And even if not, let's say Yuji didn't block, they would have hit, just based on his positioning here, around here, in his upper chest area. And of course, if these dismantles did something to him, he would have to RCT, right? But notice what Yuji's RCTing here. Very specifically, his belly. He's not RCTing anything else. Only his stomach. As Sukuna notices, the boy's stomach is fully healed. And of course he's RCTing that, not off the not off the dismantles that he blocked. No, he's RCTing that off of his belly getting torn up. But of course, you know, the one thing I'll give 248, and I've been having discussions with friends about this, and they've brought up this fact, If it was just his stomach that he was healing up, why is the RCT coming across both sides? Understandable. Very, very realistic question. Because realistically, if it was just his stomach, like, it would all be coming out of this side, but both sides are lit up. Sure, we can't see a specific slash here, unless you interpret, like, this as a slash, and maybe this as a slash. So maybe he's still healing from that. True. Absolutely and indubitably. So maybe YUUJI ITADORI hasn't developed any sort of resistance at all. But one, he should have, because this would have done much more lethal damage if he didn't. But the main thing that got me thinking is actually his reaction to SUKUNA'S dismantles right here. Well, not right there, but right here in 246. We see that these two, they do the little dancey dance. Ino comes in, does the Shicey Sorcerer thing. Ino gets kicked away, and then Sukuna throws out, just wiles out, launches off, dismantles. You can see this. And we see that Kusakabe takes damage. Itadori YUUJI, though, we see the impact marks of the slashes. They bounce off his arms with little to no damage. Though they do tear into his sides, though. Which is what makes me think, getting super duper specific, Itadori YUUJI most likely has not developed a resistance to cleave and dismantle, or to SUKUNA'S technique at all, anywhere outside these arms. Because this slash right here, this drops of juice, could come from him blocking part of the slash with his arm, then the rest tearing into him. And this is what would explain what he's RCTing here. Because notably the steam is coming out of upper here, and notably Sukuna already notes that his stomach is fully healed. But of course you could argue he got slashed up here, his chest got slashed up here, but the easy and casual bouncing off of these slashes right here leads me to believe that YUUJI ITADORI, them arms, they may have developed some sort of heavy resistance, if not a flat-out immunity, to the abilities of Ryoma Sukuna. Meaning they may be the key to defending everyone from the slashes of Ryoma Sukuna. And for the perception, because I said I was going to loop back around to that, and I will, once again, we see Itadori YUUJI seemingly block very specifically. He does whiff, though, because like we do see them slash here. And same thing with 248. He does seemingly raise and block to these. So I'll lean towards the idea that he can see them and his arms can block them. That's my two combo. I don't think he's fully immune to Shrine. I think at best he's got a resistance to dismantles. Casual dismantles too. I think if Sukuna were to generally put his back into it a little bit, he would probably still slice Itadori in half. But I do think his arms, based on the fact that they should clearly be taking some contact damage here, and yet simultaneously clearly do not, they are never the things healing, it's only Itadori's main body. And based on his reaction, which is basically, like, it's two slashes here, but it's basically one-to-one verbatim the interaction that Maharaga had, where he was redirecting slashes, where we see the slash come in with the white dots, and then the slash gets redirected. I think Itadori YUUJI's eyes have opened. I think he can see the vision, and I think with his arms, in his arms exclusively, he can redirect the vision. So maybe he hasn't developed a resistance to cleave over his entire body, but hypothetically, if Sukuna had, per se, tried to use cleave on this arm here, then maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't have worked. And notably, he does grab Itadori at two separate contact points, yet once again, the arm takes no damage. But you could argue maybe Sukuna only used cleave through the side hand, which is arguable. But those are my thoughts on Itadori's hypothetical immunity, his perception, his evolution as an individual relative to Sukuna's technique. And it brings up the question of what these arms do overall, if they're just dismantle deflectors, or if there's something more to them. But regardless, these are my thoughts on Itadori's evolution, and his ability to perceive, redirect, and resist the slashes, the dismantles of the King of Curses. What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave the dismantle deflector in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as little as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reactions to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen and ad-free variations of all my videos. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Connor Plays, Red Wolf 4765, Greyhound, and Akid's Void. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Sean, RNG Master, Midnight Gemlord, Metal Solid Crisis, Kevin, Igneal, and Demix LND. I'd like to give another thank you to our $7 member, Autumn's Morning Lazo. I'd like to give another chunk of thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, iDemokami, and China Doll 09. I'd like to give a fat, juicy, scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our wonderful $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give another hefty, defty, trifty, nifty thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.